I'm supposed to want this. I'm 34, financially stable, emotionally aware, therapized, self-actualized. I've done the work, read the books, know my attachment style, can communicate my needs in complete sentences. I know what healthy looks like. I know my boundaries. And I'm more alone than I was at 25 when I knew none of this. Last month, I went on a date with someone objectively perfect on paper. Similar values, good job, emotionally available, actually listens when I talk, asks follow-up questions like a functional human being. We had that easy conversation flow people talk about. No red flags, no immediate deal breakers. Just nothing. No spark, no pull, no reason to see them again beyond the fact that I should want to. I went home and sat in my apartment, the nice apartment I worked years to afford, the one with the kitchen I actually use and the bedroom that doesn't have a mattress on the floor anymore. Everything in its place.
A space I built carefully, deliberately, alone. And my chest did that hollow drop thing, like someone scooped out the center of me and forgot to mention it. Not sadness, not heartbreak. Something quieter, worse. It's the feeling of having arrived exactly where you plan and realizing you don't know how to want anything anymore. Here's what I don't say out loud. I think I've built a life so complete, there's no room left for anyone to enter it. And needing someone, it turns out, was the whole point. The next week I tried again. Different person, same result. Good conversation, shared interests, mutual respect. All the ingredients for a relationship that would look great to everyone watching. And the whole time I'm doing this weird double life, performing interest while also watching myself perform it, like I'm grading my own date in real time instead of actually being on it. They suggested a second date. I said yes because saying no would require a reason, and I felt nothing doesn't sound like a reason when nothing was technically wrong. Schwartz called this the paradox of choice. More options don't make you freer, they make you more paralyzed, more dissatisfied, more convinced the better option is one swipe away. When you're 20 and dating, you're mostly just hoping to find someone who doesn't actively make your life worse. The bar is low. Anyone decent feels like a miracle. But by 30, you've met enough people to know exactly what you don't want. You've catalogued every incompatibility, every communication style that grates on you, every small habit that compounds into resentment over years. And with dating apps, you have access to hundreds of potential people, each one a curated highlight reel of their best qualities. So you swipe, you assess, you optimize. You're not looking for someone good, you're looking for someone perfect. Because perfect is theoretically out there in the infinite scroll. Every date becomes an audition. Every conversation becomes a test. Does this person meet my standards? Could I do better? And the cruelty is this. You're not shallow for thinking this way. You're rational. You're protecting yourself. You're using learned experience to avoid repeating past mistakes. Which is exactly why it's so dangerous. Because rationality becomes the perfect alibi for never choosing at all. Sartre had a name for that. Bad faith. When you pretend your standards, your chemistry, your timing are making the decision for you, so you don't have to admit it's you. Because choosing means foreclosing other options. Choosing means this person, this life, this narrowing of infinite possibility into one specific reality. And I spent my 20s keeping my options open, building myself into someone who could choose anything. Now I'm someone who can't choose at all. And there's evidence that after too many decisions, work decisions, life decisions, tiny constant choices, our self-control and patience can get thinner. By the time you're 30, you've spent over a decade deciding career moves, where to live, who to trust, how to spend your limited time and energy. Every day is an optimization problem. So when you finally have time for dating, you're already depleted. You don't have the emotional bandwidth for uncertainty, for vulnerability, for the messy, inefficient process of actually getting to know someone beyond their profile. The paradox compounds. You need connection most when you're least able to build it. You want intimacy when you're most defended against it. Here's what makes this harder than it was at 25. Back then, you were looking for someone to build a life with. Now, you've already built the life. You're looking for someone to fit into it. And fitting into an already built life is a much smaller door than building together. But here's the mechanism beneath the mechanism. It's not just choice overload or decision fatigue. It's that by 30, you've accumulated enough experience to know exactly how relationships fail. You've seen friends' marriages dissolve. You've watched your parents negotiate their compromises. You're not naive anymore. And that's the problem. Erich Fromm wrote that most people think love is about finding the right person, when it's actually about developing the capacity to love. We confuse being lovable, attractive, successful, emotionally fluent, with the ability to actually love someone, to be vulnerable, to need, to let another person matter. And by 30, you've optimized yourself into someone highly lovable. You've done the therapy, you have the stories, you're competent, you're stable. You've become someone worth choosing. But in becoming worth choosing, you can lose the capacity to choose back. Because choosing someone means surrender. It means letting someone else's needs matter as much as yours. It means building something together, instead of inviting someone into something you already perfected. The apartment that felt like an achievement, every book in place, every corner planned. It's also a fortress. A life so carefully constructed that adding another person isn't completing yourself anymore. It's introducing chaos into a system that's already balanced. And here's what makes this crueler than just being picky. You know what you're doing. You recognize the defense mechanisms. You see yourself pre-rejecting people to avoid the vulnerability of being rejected. You notice how you find deal-breaker flaws in perfectly decent humans. But awareness doesn't override the fear. Knowing you're defending doesn't make you less defended. The cost isn't just loneliness. It's the slow calcification of becoming someone who's too self-sufficient to need partnership, too aware to surrender to the irrationality of falling, too complete to have room for the incompleteness that love requires. You're trading aliveness for control, possibility for predictability, the messy beauty of building something together for the clean efficiency of building alone. And the paradox you can't escape. The very growth that makes you ready for a healthy relationship is the same growth that makes you less able to begin one. You needed to become whole to love well, but becoming whole made you forget how to need. Maybe the ache isn't evidence that you're doing it wrong. Maybe it's evidence that you're still awake, still aware that something is missing, even when everything looks complete. The emptiness isn't absence of feeling, it's presence of consciousness. It's knowing the difference between a life that works and a life that's alive. Kierkegaard wrote that anxiety is the dizziness of freedom, the vertigo of standing at the edge of choice, looking at all possible futures and realizing you only get one. You're anxious because you're free, because you could choose someone, because you could surrender the safety of your self-contained life for the uncertainty of building something shared. There's an empty chair in every carefully built life. Sometimes it's literal. The second chair at your kitchen table that no one sits in. The side of the bed that stays made. Sometimes it's just the space you've learnt to fill entirely by yourself. The question isn't whether the chair is empty. The question is whether you've arranged the room so there's no way for anyone to pull it out and sit down. Tomorrow you'll open the apps again. You'll swipe. You'll assess. You'll perform interest while analysing whether you're performing interest. The pattern doesn't break just because you see it. But maybe this time, when you walk back into that apartment with everything in its place, you'll notice the empty chair. Not to fill it, just to see it. To recognize what you've built and what you've kept out. Protection, as necessary as it was, as understandable as it is still a cage. Even when the cage is beautiful, even when you built it yourself. The question isn't whether they're right for you. The question is whether you're still willing to be wrong, surprised, interrupted, disrupted, needed. The question is whether you still remember how to fall.